Hello everyone. Thanks for coming for this last session. Please welcome Jean from Google, who will talk about app monetization and engagement, and enjoy the conf.
Okay, thank you very much. So how do you feel, guys, after 2 days of Droidcon? You feel right to continue for last 40 minutes of these 2 days? Very interesting day, very good speakers, and very good conference. We spoke a lot about how to build great apps, great content for your users. And now I'm going to talk more about the users itself, how you maximize the engagement, and also about money, an important thing as well, about monetization, and how you can build a business out of your apps. So let's give you a bit of background. So I'm a mobile apps consultant at Google. What do? I work with you guys, with developers, French developers. I help them to grow their business, to work on their apps, to build better engagement with users, to grow the user base, and also to better monetize this audience. So today, that's what I would like to cover with you. So what we're going to see is, like, first, we're going to talk about a little bit about the industry. I'm sure a lot of numbers you already know. And then we're going to see which are the main opportunities of this industry, but also the main challenges, and how you could maybe address this. So let's maybe talk first about what brings us today. It's Android. You all know that this. Android grew very fast after a few years of his life. So we are now at 1 billion users on Android, which is quite big, which represents a big opportunity for you guys. And we can see that the growth is insane, and it's only the beginning, with 5 million per billion people who have still no access to internet. It means that I'm sure you guys have still a long life with your application. Also, something very interesting that we see, and I think it has been mentioned today in the same room by, I think it was Julien from Facebook. He said that mobile became the first device. And in fact, in a study recently, we showed that in US, 60% of our time spent using media, so texting, reading news, playing games, engaging on social network is done on mobile. 60% of our time is done on mobile. Also, among this time, more than 80% of this time is spent on apps, so which is a very good opportunity for us compared to mobile browser. In terms of app download, we can see also a big growth on app download. So that's App data from a recent report that shows that we have a 150% increase year on year since last year, which is a still 3-digit increase, which is quite amazing for an industry. But even more interesting is also the revenue. The revenue is increasing even faster than app download, and this is only Google Play revenue, so it will not take into account a lot of other part of the revenue, such as ads monetization. So why does this revenue grow faster than app download? It's mainly explained by an app sub-segment that we addressed in the same room just the session before with Nicolas from Google. It's like the gaming. Indeed, the gaming part is growing very fast, and the players are spending spending a lot of time, but a lot of money on games. In fact, if gaming represents only slightly more than 50% of the download, it represents 75% of the revenue. So gaming industry is a huge opportunity, and 3 out of 4 Android owners play video games. So this is an important opportunity for you guys to reach more users. But despite all this opportunity, we also know that a lot of you guys, a lot of developers are facing a lot of challenges to make a business out of your apps. And I just show one of many articles that is mentioning this, and mentioning that more than 64% of Android developers or what they say below the poverty line, which means earn less than $500 with the app, if I remember well. So we have a lot of way to explain this. Also, a lot of app developers are not doing this for a living and are doing this aside. But it's true that we have a lot of challenges when it comes to turn an app to a business. We have the competition, how to be visible among all these apps that are done by the other developer, actually. We have also to reach the right user and to engage with him. We have to keep this user. It's very difficult. We know that for a game, for instance, the life cycle of a game is roughly 6 weeks. So it's very difficult to sustain in this industry. And then when it comes to monetization, we have a really big range of offer for you here. You have a lot of business model, but in each business model, you will have a lot of different solutions. So how can you manage to address this, and what you should do to make your business a sustainable, your app, sorry, a sustainable business. So obviously, I'm going to talk more about our vision, about what in Google we do provide to help you to do so. So, like the flagship product at Google to help you guys to do this is AdMob. You know that AdMob helps you to do this free thing to better monetize your app through different ways that we will see later on. It helps you to promote your app as well. We will see this too. And then also to analyze, which is very important, because I strongly believe that you cannot do the two first points if you're not able to analyze what you're doing and to monitor your goal. You have to be able to see if your users are following you and if you're actually achieving the goal that you set for yourself. So how can you leverage the monetization? We're going to talk first about monetization. What is our vision at Google? We think that, as I mentioned, that you have first to understand your audience. You have to understand your user. What do they want? Why do they play in your app? Where do they go? Why do they stay if they stay? And what can you provide? Which type of experience can you provide to them to enhance their experience? We're going to choose to focus on two main business models, and we'll see why. And we explain how you can grow your in-app purchase revenue if you choose to monetize with this. And also, we're going to see how you can maximize the revenue you get from your ad. So first, let me talk about understanding your audience. So among you guys today, how many of you is using an analytical tool to track what's happening on your app, such as Google Analytics, but it can be also Flurry, any analytical tool? Okay. So roughly a bit more than half of you guys. So congratulations to you guys. And I think for the others, you should consider it because it's very, very important. It's critical. So what can an analytical tool can do for you? It's quite obvious, but I think it's important to mention. With an analytical tool, you will be able to see what are your users doing, and you're going to be able to segment your user according to this. So you'll be able to see that some of your users are actually some more valuable users. We saw this morning that it's not always about the volume of user that you get. It's also about the quality of user. It's better to have engaged user than a lot of user. So you want to understand who are they, what are they doing in your app, and how can you differentiate them from the other users. This, in Analytics, you will be able, for instance, to create custom segments to isolate this type of user and to see if you can do something better to engage even more with them, maybe to give them some feature that they want. Also, it's very similar, but you will be able to understand which are the most frequent paths that are taken by your user. Because maybe when you create an app, you have something in mind. Maybe you've been working with a couple of colleagues or coworkers on your app for months and months, and you were in your idea, you were working on your app, and then when you launch it, you expect user to do something. But then you have to monitor that they're actually doing what you expect them to do. So here you will be able to see where are they going, where are they spending time, and where are they stuck. Maybe they are stuck in let's say you have a game, they are stuck at level 10, and you didn't know that. And then obviously you'll be able to plug it back to your monetization model and to understand which are the users that's also most valuable in terms of revenue, and to take action. And this is the last part, take action. The good thing with tools such as Analytics that you can have it on your phone. Actually, you can monitor this instantly and take action if you see anything going wrong. You also have like crash reports on Google Analytics, so you can see. Let's say we launch next Nexus, and you see that you have a lot of crash reports on the Nexus 5, for instance. You can take action straight away and do the right thing for your users. So here I just put some few examples of, for those who don't know Google Analytics, of the report I think are interesting. So when I talked about user path, this is, no, first, sorry for that, but we talked about promotion, and we talked about visibility in the opening. This is an interesting report in Google Analytics. You can plug it back to Google Play Console and have all the data related to your Google Play page, and to see who is visiting your Google Play page, who is converting in an installation. And the good thing is that if, let's say, you want to do marketing, you want to use Google AdWords or another solution to promote your app somewhere, or even just putting your URL on a blog that is very, very famous, you will see all the traffic coming on your Google Play page, and we'll see if it converts. And maybe you will understand that your Google Play page maybe is not well done, or maybe the marketing that you've done is not very qualitative because you get a lot of traffic but not any install. So this is a pretty useful report if you want to do some user acquisition, and if you want to see what you can do to increase like the front page, let's say, of your app on Google Play. Another report will be when I talk about the user path, to understand exactly what I said, like where the user is going in your app. So maybe you thought it will do like the straight line always, and here you can understand, okay, 50% of my users are going to the screen A to the screen C. I thought they were going to the screen B, and you can also understand that when, let's say, you do modification between the screen 1 and the screen 2, you will see a big drop here of user in red. That's the drop of user. So let's say I want to test a new feature. I want to test a new button. You test it, and you see if you have churn on you. If you see that you lose some user, maybe you can do something here, and you will see also the feature that are the most famous on your app. Sometimes I have developer that creates very good apps with a lot of features, and at some point they understand that one or two features are very, very famous for their users. So it's very important for them to know that, so they can market especially this specific feature, and maybe on the Google Play page then to work better on the keyword for this specific feature, but because that's what the user wants. So maybe you did a really awesome app, but the user is only using 5% of it. So maybe you want to consider to improve this 5%. So just to wrap up on this part, what you need to understand is with this type of tool, you will be able to optimize the lifetime value of your user in terms of engagement, in terms of the time they're spending on your app, and also to plug it back with all the monetization system that you can have, such as AdMob, where you can link it to directly in the backend to have all the data coming from Analytics going to AdMob and from AdMob going to Analytics, so you can see, okay, these users are staying a lot. They are spending a lot on my in-app purchase, or maybe I'm monetizing well with ads. So I have to take care of them. I have to be sure these users are staying on my app. And obviously, this is a cycle. You're a developer, you know that. So you have to monitor everything, and then you have to iterate and to optimize. So in terms of monetization model, I told you that I will choose to talk especially about in-app purchase and ads, and I will tell you why. We all know that there is a lot of different monetization models, such as paid download, for instance. But we also know that some of them are more popular than others. And when it comes to in-app purchase, actually, we will see that it's something that's becoming more and more important. The paid version is quite done, like 94% today of users are downloading only free version of apps. They are not likely to do not pay apps. They want to test apps before paying for it. So you should, if you want to have a paid version, you should consider a freemium so they can test it before and then maybe to go for the premium version. In-app purchases, I will talk about it more in an instant, and also advertising, it will be later on. So why do I want to talk about in-app purchase? It's because in-app purchase represent today so in France, 88% of the overall revenue that developer are earning. So this is huge, and in-app purchase is a big thing. It's true also that big players are succeeding in in-app purchase, so that's why we have like huge numbers. We see also if we deep dive on in-app purchase data that actually a few developers are sharing this big cake, if we can call it like this. So to be successful in in-app purchase, you have to have already a good base of users who are willing to purchase something on your app. And something we see when we use in-app purchase, so this is a bit too complicated. I just want you to have this in mind. I think you might already know this, but when we do in-app purchase, if I take for instance a Candy Crush, they do a lot of in-app purchase on this type of developer. They will do 95% of their revenue with only 5% of their users. So they make a lot of revenue, but only with few of them. So this is the model of what's happening with in-app purchase. You have what we call killer whales, so that's the big fish. They are willing to spend on your app. They like your app, and they don't care to spend money, and they will click a lot on in-app purchase. And they spend a lot. They spend here, we said that they spend more than $50 per month, so which is quite a lot already. But then you have so you have only few people who are doing this, and then most of the people will only do 1 or 2 in-app purchase every maybe semester. So they almost never pay anything. So you have to understand this when you want to go for in-app purchase model, because what's happening is that when you use this model, you're only monetizing 5% of your users. So what you should maybe consider is look if you can combine this business model with another one. And a study recently showed that actually the developers that are the most successful are the ones who understand this, and will segment their audience so they can address differently the most valuable user with in-app purchase because they spend a lot, and the rest of them they will address them with ads. So here we just see this. So in average, so it's index revenue is just to have proportion. So if you have to choose between two models, you will make maybe more in-app purchase, more revenue with in-app purchase than ads. But if you do a combination of both, you will earn even more. So that's why I think that when you want to choose your business model, you have to know that, and you have to know your user first. You have to understand, okay, what are my users doing on my app? What can I do? How can I address them? If I do in-app purchase, will I earn enough money with only in-app purchase? Should I do also ads? Or should I do the opposite, only ads, because nobody is going to buy anything on my app? So here we just give an example of something you can do. When you use analytics with Google Maps, for instance, you can segment your user, and according to the type of user that is using your app, show a different action. So you can say, okay, this user is a valuable user, so I just find a premium user. For me, a premium user is a user that play, let's say, in the last 24 hours, and also already purchased something in my game. I know this type of user are more likely to buy again. So maybe this type of user, after level 10, I want to show them a nice in-app purchase ad, because they didn't didn't success to pass the level 10, so I will maybe offer them to buy a goodie or something to help them to go further. And for the rest, if I see that it's not a premium user, I know that if I display this, it will never work. It's unlikely that it will work. I can display another type of model, so which is here an interstitial ad. So this is the type of thing that we have in mind when we say that you have to segment your user, so you will understand, okay, this is a premium user, I do this. This is not a premium user, I can do this. So you can do any action you want. It can be show nothing, it can be show an ad, it can be show an in-app purchase. And this you can do only using in-app Google Analytics and AdMob, and when you link it together, you can do it automatically. So yeah, we just wanted to mention a good example, a typical example of successful developer that will do this combination. So this is not a French example, it is from Netherlands. So there are like a team of 20 developers. They are coming from desktop, and they started to create apps. This guy used to work only with one type of model, and they understood that they were not addressing their customer needs, their user needs. So they started to try to address both at the same time. And today they have 75% of revenue coming from in-app purchase, which is still the main model, and the rest is monetized with ads with 25%. So ads. So I talked a lot about in-app purchase. Now I'm going to talk more about ad revenue. So what can you do if you choose to work with ad revenue to optimize this revenue? So when we talk about ad, we need to know what we are talking about. That's the main thing. And when I say that, I said what I mean is that you have to know your main your key performance indicators, because you have a lot of offer out there for you, and you have to be able to compare the different offer in order to prioritize them. So the main KPI that you might want to use is the RPM for revenue per 1,000 of impression, or CPM, we can say. Also CPM, it depends on which side you look at it. And it's this RPM is depending on obviously the cost per click that the advertiser is paying, and also the click-through rate, which is something you can monitor, because it's more like is your ads clicked by the user or not. So this is something maybe you can improve if you want to let's say it's very big, maybe you don't want this to happen because users are not clicking attentionally. So this is something you can control. And obviously the fill rate is very important. So when you say you want to work with ads, you're going to provide an inventory to a network. So you're going to say, okay, this space, I give it to the ad. So you will generate a number of impressions. And it's important to know if when you give this inventory to a network, if the network is taking everything, or if the network is just taking a few of them and giving good RPM for this few, and then not filling the rest, because then you are losing money, because it's like if you were producing something that was not sold. So you have to understand this. Fill rate is very important. So I talk about, why do I talk about these KPIs? Because as I say, you have a lot of offer, and to optimize your ad revenue, you may want to work with different sources of ad network. So this is something you can do with AdMob, because AdMob, we are an ad network, but we are also a platform. So it means that we can help you to maximize the revenue you get from different sources of ad network. So I will give you an example here. So let's say I want to work only with the red one here. It's cool here because it's the best one in terms of RPM. So I get more than $2. But then here I can see that it's getting very bad, and some of the other are actually better at this point. So what can I do? Maybe I can change every time I see a difference. I can change from a network to another, but maybe that's not very automatic, and that's not what we want to do. So what we can do with a tool like AdMob is that you will plug all this network, and you will just ask the tool to optimize this for you, and it will always take the best one for you. So here, let's say it's the first network you choose initially. This one is becoming better. So the tool is gonna detect this, and it will say, okay, I will take this one because you're gonna make more money with this one. And by doing this, what we call mediation, you're sure that your fill rate is 100%, so you don't have unsell inventory, and you're sure that your RPM is the higher as possible. And this is something you can monitor, and this is something you can either set automatically or either set manually if you prefer to manage it yourself. So this is what I just explained. You will just choose a set of network, and then you will just ask, for instance, Google demand to plug here, and for every different impression, if Google demand can beat any other network, we will just take the impression for you, so you can have a better CPM than or RPM that you had with the other network. So this is automatic mediation. I don't want to go too much into details right now, but if you have any question later on, I will be happy to talk about this. So I talk more about different source of network and different source of partnership that you might want to have to increase your ad revenue. But something very important is also like the format that you want to choose. With Google Maps, we provide the three main format that we provide is video, picture, and text. And the two main size will be first the smart banner, which is something that will optimize for mobile and tablet. If you change size of screen, it's very important when you talk about Android because it's very fragmented. So it will adapt to the size of screen and adapt to the landscape as well. And also interstitial, especially when you work in gaming, this is something that works very well. And interstitial tends to have 5 times better CTR than banner. So when you have to choose between formats, you have to know that, and you might earn more revenue coming from interstitial than banner. Okay, so this is it for ads. I will not deep dive on this. So now let's talk about how you can promote your app. So this is also something you can do, obviously, with Google. I will just touch this very fast. So the first thing that you might want to do is to do paid ads. So why do paid ads? This is something that can be useful for you when you can afford it first, and for that you have to know the revenue you can get from a user. So that's why again you need to analyze your data, and this can be very useful because when you launch an app, you know that on the store optimization side, the better download you have, the better ranking you have, and the better download you have, the more download you have. So it's like a positive cycle that you might want to help by pushing a little bit of paid ads with it. And we will have a lot of targeting options that can be very relevant for you because now we are able to target based on the type of apps that are already installed on the device. So for instance, let's say you have you see that we can see that most of the users have this type of ads already installed aside your own app. So we will be able, for instance, to target all the users that have the same kind of set of apps, but not your apps. So they are more likely to want to download your app because they are similar to the user that already use your app. So this is the type of targeting that I think are really powerful. And the good thing also is that you can set a cost per install that the system will try to respect for you. So if you know specifically the revenue you can get from a user, you just set a cost per install that is slightly lower, and you can be sure to control your return on investment, obviously. So the last thing, very important that you can do with AdMob, and it's very relevant when you have different apps, for instance, version of apps. Let's say I'm Candy Crush. I launched a new Candy Crush. Maybe you can use your user base to promote your apps without paying for it. So actually, you will just use your own apps, your own inventory, and then let's say I have the first app. I put my own ads on my app that will promote the new app that I'm going to launch, and this is something that can help you to jumpstart your new app and to launch it and to help it to grow faster. And the last thing that you can do in AdMob is also if you work with you want to work with a big brand, top partner, let's say. You have an app very specific in a specific industry. I have an app about sport, and I'm contacted by Adidas to run a specific campaign. You can sell it to Adidas, and you will be able to put their creatives into your app, so it will go into competition with our own ads. If you work, for instance, with AdMob, so it's a good way to make maybe more revenue. So you can try to have different source of ads coming from the ad network, your own ads, but also the ad that you sell directly to a top partner, for instance. So to wrap up, we've seen a lot of things. What I want you to remember is first, you need to understand your audience. I said it many times, so we provide the tool for this. You have a lot of tools out there for you. Use analytics to do this. Grow your app. To grow your app, you need to make sure that your users are staying. You need to make sure that the users are finding you. So use the leverage that you can have here and maximize the revenue. Again, it's very linked to the analyze part. You need to understand what's happening, and you need to leverage the different source of monetization that you get, optimize everything, test new things, and that's how you can maximize the ad revenue. So finally, the resource that I can link to, if you have other question and you want to deep dive on this, is just to visit the AdMob site, because you have a lot of what they call a developer business kit. So you have a lot of resources around how to turn an app into a business. Thank you very much. If you have any question.
Okay, thank you for the talk. Some months ago, I tried to use the Inapp purchase for a donation button, but it seems it's not possible. Is that true? And if yes, why?
Was it through Google Play?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So this is not a product I work directly with, so I've been not able to understand specifically about the Google Play policy. So this I really don't know if it's a law or not, actually. Sorry.
Another question?
Have you gathered data from the users directly from average users with polls, and to know like how often you can display an ad before it gets mad, 3 times a minute, every 3 games, or like I don't know.
So yeah, that's a good question. Actually, that's something we discuss a lot with the developer I work with, and actually we don't have a specific data for this because it's something that is directly linked to your app. So depending on your app, the experience that you get on the app, and also the ad integration, it will be very different. So let me give you a very easy example. So let's say I have a weather app. A weather app, maybe I'm just gonna check the weather when I wake up at the morning. I'm gonna stay maybe 30 seconds on the app. So if I see 2 ads within these 30 seconds, for sure the experience is very bad. And you don't want to do this because it's very important to engage the user before you try to monetize him, especially if you want to heavily monetize him. So this is something you don't want to do. But if you see with analytics or tools like this that your users are staying 3 minutes on your app, so you know that they are engaged with you, and you know that if you start to maybe showcase 1 or 2 ads, you may not lose them. And something I can say about this as well is that it's not coming from me, actually, it's coming from a developer talk. And he was explaining that they were doing some, what he called end testing. So he had a game, and he was trying to put an ad, let's say, every 3 levels, and then he tried to increase every 2 levels, and he was always monitoring what was happening behind. So obviously he was making more money when he was increasing to 2 levels, but maybe he was losing user engagement. So the balance was if you lose user engagement, you're losing on both sides. So you don't want to do this. So this is something very important, but this is not something we can tell you how to do exactly. You have to know what's happening on your app, and you have to make what you think is right, and then to monitor it back.
Thanks.
So thank you.
Thank you.